Are you working a job and running a business? Are you working a job and running two businesses? Right? Are you working a job that you actually enjoy, that you actually kind of see a future in, but you just need a safety net, right? You don't want to retire at someone else's job, right? You want to retire on your own time. You still want to have time with your family, right? You working a job and running a business? Are you working a job and running two businesses? Right? Are you working a job that you actually enjoy, that you see a future in, that you just need a safety net, right? You just want something with your legacy attached to it, something that has your last name attached to it that you can retire from, right? And you need to hear this episode. We are going to be talking about, isolated hustlers, why you need a team to scale your business, why you need a business, period, as anyone in this life, right? You're going to need a business, right? If you want to have a legacy, right? If you want to leave something for the people behind you, right? Or the people coming up after you, right? You need to have a business. You need to have a legacy, right? You need to have a team, right? Don't be an isolated hustler. Don't be a solopreneur. Be an entrepreneur, right? So that brings me to, let me pull up this presentation for you now. So, what is an isolated hustler, right? I want to talk about that real quick. An isolated hustler is someone who, takes all the burden on themselves, right? As a boss, right, we always, if you are a boss or if you're a manager, right, you do understand the concept of taking thing, being the captain of the ship, going down with the ship, right? But an isolated hustler is someone who, at their own detriment, would rather be isolated instead of creating a team, thinking that they can do everything by themselves, right? And you can't be in two places at once, right? So it's hard enough to be in one place at one time and master a skill set and create, a sustainable business that has a sustainable product that actually sells, right? So that's why you need to create a team. You want to be focused on creating the products, right? Servicing the customers, right? And you have to have a team that wants to push that vision with you, right? So you need someone doing your email marketing. You need someone doing your taxes. You need someone who is going to do put your emails on. I mean, your social media posts on automation, right? So there's certain type of things that you can do that takes there's certain type of, ways that you can outsource to, take some of the burden off of you, right? And to where you can, just work on just servicing your clients, right? And creating better products, right? And most importantly, living your life the way you want to live it, right? So I want you guys to ask yourself this, right? What's your no-brainer offer? What is your no-brainer offer? Like, what is something that you can offer that people cannot live without, right? When it's wintertime, we cannot we go immediately buying winter jackets, right? Or gloves and hats, right? If we don't already have them, right? Because we know it's about to be wintertime, we know it's about to be cold, right? That's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer opportunity that we always take, right? And that's why people are able to craft no-brainer offers, right? Based on, market, just based on the market, right? They evaluate the market, they evaluate the need, they evaluate the 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 environment, essentially, right? So I want you guys to ask yourself this, right? Who's affected by your services, right? Who's most affected by what you have to offer, right? Who is going to be change the most when they go through your program, or who's gonna, lose the most weight when they, eat your stuff, or when they eat your vegan or when they buy your vegan recipe book, right? Excuse me. So I want you to ask yourself this: what life do you see for your clients or your customers after they've done business with you, right? Think about that before and after picture, right? If you've ever seen anyone who cleans houses, right, they take before and after. If you've ever seen like a commercial with like a Mr. Clean commercial, right, you see what it looks like before and you see what it looks like after, right? That's how you create that no-brainer offer, right? So you essentially, you're gonna sell the destination, right? You're not going to sell the tools, right? So if I'm selling credit repair, I'm not going to sell the credit repair. I'm going to sell, oh, once you get that removed off your credit report, right? Now you can go on and buy that dream car. Now you can go get a proof of that dream house, right? So you're selling the destination. So what does that before and after look like for you, right? This is a big thing, right? Who can create an exposed relationship between yourself and your community? So who can get your success stories out in the public eye? These are the questions you need to ask when you are finding your no-brainer offer. Who can create that exposed relationship between yourself and your community? Meaning, how can you be accessible to your community, right? And more importantly, how can you give service them to the point where they are automatically going to give you, get your there's your success stories out in the public eye. Meaning, right, if someone goes through my program, right, and they are just completely transformed, right, they got what they paid for and then some, right, things actually started to shift in their life, right, or that before and after looked exactly how I wanted it to look and exactly how they wanted it to look, they got the outcome that they paid for, then they're automatically going to go and you're going to get word to mouth marketing, right? And that's the best type of marketing you can get, right? So who can get that who can get you to where who can put you on that pedestal, right, to where you are always accessible to your audience, right? Or potential clients, potential customers, potential new members of your community, right? The reason I asked is because, it's about community, right? Communication is one of the highest levels of value. Those who communicate, right, can deliver value. But those who have communications can create relationships, meaning those who communicate can deliver some type of value. If I'm communicating in a civil manner, right? If I'm communicating in a, what is the word? What is that word? If I'm communicating in a manner where I'm willing to come to some type of understanding, right, then I'm going to be able to create value, right? If I'm communicating into a point where I'm not ready to, I'm trying to think of the word, right? If I'm communicate essentially if I get good communication, right, I get good value out of it, right? If I get bad communication, I get bad value out of it, right? But those who have communications, meaning I have some type of form of communication, whether I'm communicating through a video as like we are now, right? Whether I'm communicating through an ebook, right? Whether I'm communicating through a webinar, whether I'm communicating through a phone call, a conversation, that creates relationships, right? That creates trust, right? So when you learn how to communicate, you can deliver value. But when you learn how to deliver communications, right, you can create relationships because you create trust, right? So ask yourself, what can you offer that people can't live without? Ask yourself these, what is that? 4 questions. Who's most affected by your services? What do you see clients or customers' life like before and after with you, right? Who can create that exposed relationships? Meaning, how can you how can you be, accessible to your customers, right? And ask yourself what type of communication you want to deliver, right? What type of relationships you want to return. So ask yourself those questions, and that's how you're going to find your no-brainer offer. That's going to be easy. And when you find your no-brainer offer, right, then you can start to craft your business, right? Because, like, I'm gonna give you a perfect example, right? If I am like, let's go back to the credit repair, right? If I'm trying to sell credit repair and I'm selling credit repair services and I start selling a certain type of destination, I want to be able to be exposed to a certain type of community, right? I want to be exposed to maybe college kids who have student loans, or they want to learn how to manage their money, right? Or maybe I want to target an older audience, right, who may have more credit history, right? So may have there's more room for there to be derogatory marks on their reports, right? So I can learn how I'm going to craft that business, right? So I'm going to ask who's going to be most affected by my services, right? So say I go with targeting older people around 30 or 40, right? Meaning they're going to have more of an age credit history, right? So there's more room for improvement, right? I'm going to ask myself, how are they going to be affected by that? I'm going to ask myself what their life is going to look like now, as of whether they take my services or not, and what is going to look like whether they do take my services or not. Because you always want to ask people, right, what would their life like be like? Okay, you know, if you buy my 997 coaching course, right, or if you buy my 997 credit enhancement, then essentially you're gonna have more opportunities versus if you didn't, right? If you keep that 997 and keep paying off your credit card, right, or you keep paying that debt collector when you really don't have to, right? Or are you going to pay the 997 to me, right, and be able to get that credit card or that dream house that you want right now, right? So you have to sell the destination, and you have to sell what would you what you have to sell the destination, right? And you have to sell what it would look like if they didn't get there, right? Or what it would look like if they didn't use you to get there, right? So you also have to ask yourself that. You also have to ask yourself how you're going to create that relationship between yourself and your community, right? So how are you going to deliver that? How are you going to, initiate that communication, right? Are you going to send them an email, right? Are you going to send them a thank you letter, right? Are you going to send them a free incentive, right? So how are you going to create a communication system with your community, right? To where, you can create that relationship, create that trust, right? And that all comes down to that last thing all comes down to who, like, you have to learn your community, right? When you know who you're going to service, right, you can know how you're going to deliver it to them, right? And when you're going to deliver it to them and what they need to be, what they need, right? So that's how you're going to learn how to find your no-brainer offer. That brings me to the size of your business, right? If you have a no-brainer offer already ready, right? If you have your no-brainer offer ready and you start going in and you start pushing ads and you start spending money on marketing, right? And your business is not the size you want it to be, right? Meaning, if I'm not making the amount of money that I want to make, right? 9 times out of 10, it means it's because of the size of my business, right? So if the size of my business isn't the way I want it to be right now, right? Say I'm not making enough money, right? Say I don't, I have a low success rate, right? Say I'm spending a lot of money and I don't have a big ROI, right? I don't have a big return on investment, right? I'm not getting as much as I'm putting in. There's going to be one or two reasons, only one or two. And it could be a mix of both, right? But there's only going to be two reasons at the most why your business isn't the size it is right now. Number one is going to be the size of your team. The size of your team, because there's one or two reasons, right? The first one is the size of your team, right? The second one is going to be the size of your community, and that equals your client base, right? The size of your team plus the size of your community equals your client base. So small team, small community, small client base is going to equal small profit, right? So, when you have a big team, a big community, right, you're going to have a big client base. And your community is going to be, your community is going to be anyone who pushes your services. Your community is going to be anyone who supports your business, right? Your community is going to be anyone who is willing to buy from you, who has bought from you, or even is just interested in buying from you, right? So that's going to be, your community is not just your client base, right? But the bigger your community, the bigger your client base, if that makes sense, right? So if the size of your team is sustainable to the level of client success, then you've reached max potential in your business as of now, right? If your team doesn't add up to the value your customers receive, then your team either isn't big enough or you have the wrong team, right? So how do you evaluate that? You want to make the fastest decision possible, right? So making moves with your team is inevitable. People are going to come and go, right? Like, you have to build these relationships with the people who are going to make the money for you, not with you, right? You always want to work with people who know that they are working for you, not with you. People who know how to play their role, right? They know they work for you, right? And you know that they know that the vision, right? You have a vision that you're going to push, right? And that's going to be a sustainable vision, right? Meaning it has some type of, has some type of asset, right? Your vision has to be an asset, right? Because if you're not the asset, we talked about this earlier, right? In a couple episodes back, right? If you're not the asset, you're the leverage, right? So if you don't have the vision, if you are not moving as the one who has the vision, who is the boss, who is making the decisions, right, then people are not going to know they're not going to know their role, they're not going to know your role, right? Because if you're a boss that likes to play employee, then things don't work, right? If you are a boss that shows your employees you can still get on your hands and knees and you can still get dirty, right? You can create a level of trust and respect, right? And you can create, in return, people are going to know their role, they're going to know your role, right? I always like to say, right, the manager or the boss should not be the one doing most of the work, right? That's why you create a team. But the boss should never be the laziest person on the team, right? Because the one at the highest, at the highest top of the food chain, right, has to be the most, you have to be the best to be the best, right? You have to be the best to be the boss, right? So, just to break it down a little bit further, right? When you make the fastest decision possible, right, you're going to be able to move faster, right? You're going to be able to know that your team is there when you need it, right? When you know whether your team needs to be hired or fired, right, then you can make the fastest decision possible, right? So the next thing you want to do is learn your team and learn your money. This is important, right? Your team has to be designated, right? You can't have two people working on the same thing, no matter the size. One person is in charge of marketing. They will receive those funds, right? They have to make the vision into visuals, right? So things you see and can touch right down the road, or that you can sell, right? Or right. So the team, so when you learn your team, and you're going to be in trial mode, right? You should never, hire someone and not go in trial mode, whether they're getting paid or not, right? When you're in trial mode, you're looking for the right person to say run your social media, but they specialize in cold calling, right? So you have to know that comes in down to, making that fastest decision possible, right? And learning your team, right? And you got to learn your money, right? You don't want to spend money on, an employee who could be better off doing something here, right? And you just want to try them out, maybe try them out for a couple days here, try them out for a couple days there, ask them what they're comfortable with, and then you make the final decision, right? So learn your team, learn your money, and make fast decisions, right? So, you know, you as the boss, right? You're the coach now. You're in position to, you're calling the plays. You're putting the right people in the right place to where the whole team wins and you get to the finish line, right? So if you know your team and you know their strengths and where to play them to their strengths, right? That gives you, the advantage every time, right? And that's going to grow your business, right? Because when your team knows their role, right? They know that you're going to make the best decision possible, right? They know that they are able to do their job, right? And you trust them to do their job, things are going to flow smoothly. Things are going to, productivity is going to be enhanced, right? Productivity is going to be multiplied, right? And you're going to have someone who knows your vision and is going to push it as their vision, right? And that brings me to being costly but not cheap, right? This is a little biggie, right? This is a biggie. So often we think about how we can save a little here and there, right? In the mindset of only being costly and not spending before we have. But let me introduce you or refresh a few people who may have heard of the OPM method, meaning I'm using other people's money. This is the greatest method you can use when it comes to, growing the size of your team, right? Because you want to have the resources and the funds to hire the team when you need it, right? Because if you know, like, okay, the size of my community may be good, right? Like I said, it's one of two reasons: it's the size of your team and the size of your community, right? And that's going to equal your client base. But if I know the size of my community is pretty good, right? I know that there's a lot of people that I can service, right? There's a lot of people that want to buy from me right now. Then I know that I have to go get my team in order, right? I have to find a team that can, make sure my productivity is, like I said, going to be enhanced and multiplied into where we can deliver things in the fastest and most efficient way possible, right? So when we talk about using other people's money, right, this meaning I can use someone else's money to get me started with my brand and my business and essentially hire my team, right? We want to talk about lenders and creditors. Lenders and creditors are in the business of giving you money to receive the back end interest over the years. So it's a win-win, right? This isn't like asking your homeboy for $50, right? Knowing he gonna be calling all week, showing up to your mama house asking for the money, right? So, this gives you leverage, right? And when you have leverage, right, you can create assets or you can create cushion, right? So this method ensures that you can get funds you need when you need them, and you can grow that relationship with someone who gets paid to give you money. Okay. If that makes sense, then you have to be costly but not cheap. So you have to know where to spend your money, right? But don't be cheap. Don't be like, okay, I can't afford $1,000 a month for my marketing team. What if your marketing team, you hire that marketing team and they go on to make you 5,000 a month, right? So be costly but not cheap, right? That brings me to the size of your community. So I want to give you this equation, right? I'm all about equations. I'm all about math. So I'm gonna give you this real. I'm gonna give you this real quick gem, right? The size of your community is very important, right? When we talk about, growing relationships, we talk about leveraging, communication, right? The size of your community is essentially going to equal the size of your pockets, right? If you have a small loyal community, right, you have a sustainable brand, right? This is something that you can create some foundation off of, right? This is something that you can build on, right? So if the community you serve is small and loyal, you have a sustainable brand, right? That's going to be your foundation, right? But let's talk about this. If the community you serve is large and impulse generated, you have a reduced brand. Let me give you an example. A reduced brand is going to be inconsistent and limited, meaning if I have a brand that only sells lawnmowers, right? That's going to be very impulse generated, and it's going to be you're going to have a really limited and inconsistent client base, right? You're going to have people who sometimes buy lawnmowers, who buy lawnmowers in the summer. There's going to be some people who buy them in the winter because they want to, be prepared for that, but it's very impulse generated, right? You don't have like a consistent client base, right? And people don't need lawnmowers every year. People need lawnmowers every, 10, 20 years. I don't even know how long a lawnmower lasts. But it's not something that you're buying continuously, right? But let's say I do this, right? I want to service a small and loyal community. So say I do sell lawnmowers, right? But say in the summertime or in the wintertime, I'm gonna sell what are those? The snow plows, right? Or say I'm gonna sell leaf blowers in the fall, right? So I can then create a brand based on, people who do lawn work, or people who just want to keep their community, right? There's all, I know everybody knows the dude that is gonna do his driveway and then do the whole sidewalk when it snows, right? So those are the type of that's going to serve a small and loyal community, right? That's going to be sustainable, right? So that's how you can just create some balance, right? But if the community you serve is large and impulse generated, you're going to have a reduced brand, right? So you're going to be limited into, what type of client base you have, right? And your client base is not going to, it's not going to be sustainable, right? You're not going to be able to build off of that, right? So that moves me on to something that we all want to get towards, right? It takes a long time for any business to get here. If the community you serve is large and loyal, you have a global brand, and that equals generational wealth. And size matters. Size matters, right? The size of your business 100% matters. The size of your community 100% matters, right? So when you have that large when you have that community that is large and loyal, you can create a global and generational brand, right? Meaning, I'll give you a perfect example. Amazon's a perfect example when you have a large and loyal client base, right? A large and loyal community, right? But the size of the team in Amazon is probably two times bigger than any like a Walmart or say a Target or anything like that because they're servicing globally, right? Everybody is in the business of ordering online, right? So I can create such a huge client base and community, right? To where I can create generational wealth to where it's gonna run on automation and my family's, you know, my great 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 grandchildren are gonna still be eating off of Amazon, right? So size matters, right? So that brings me to, just when we're talking about the size of your team, right? It matters, right? When we're talking about the size of your community, it matters. And those are things you have to those are questions you have to start asking yourself when you wondering why your business isn't going in the right direction, right? Or you wonder why, your investments aren't returning the way you want them to return, right? You have to ask yourself, where can you grow, right? Do you have to do more work in your community, right? Do you have to, start creating different type of relationships, right? Or are you in a situation to where you just need to hire a team to where you can, create a sense of accessibility for yourself, right? And you can't do that alone, right? It's not easy to get on a global, it's not easy to create a global brand, right? When you're, sitting in the comfort of your own home, right? Especially, like I said, if you're running a business or you're running two businesses or you're working at a job and running a business, right? So either you're going to be able to create a team, right? And that's going to, in turn create a new just going to essentially enhance your productivity, right? That's what's going to happen when you evaluate the size of your team. But when you evaluate the size of your community, right, you're going to be able to create you're going to be able to build on that foundation, right? So when you evaluate the size of your team, right, you're going to be able to evaluate what type of productivity you're giving out. When you evaluate the size of your community, you're going to be able to evaluate what type of foundation you're going to be building, right? Because it all comes down to what foundation you want to build when it comes to a community, right? A community is a group of people, right, who all have some type of, agenda, right? So the community is going to build off of what value you bring to it, right? Because you're creating the community, right? So when you want to build a foundation, right, and you know what vision you have, right, then you can create that sustainable brand, right? Or that generational brand, right? So financial financial stability and financial literacy. Those are two things that every entrepreneur needs to dive into, right? You have to know which ways to make your money work for you, right? So when we talk about being disciplined, right, this all ties into why your team isn't working the way it's supposed to work, right? Why you can't sustain, the funds to run your business, right? So I want to talk about, just a quick few tips to where you can, essentially just stay disciplined, right, and keep up with the keep up, right? So you want to be able to make sure your business is doing what it's supposed to be doing, right? So number one, don't put money away gradually, right? Don't put money away gradually. If it's four bills, pay it early. When you receive the money, that's when it should be paid, right? Don't That way you don't have to worry about dipping into those funds, right? You can ensure that you're being responsible and not going out of budget. Number two, we want to talk about separation of funds. We as adults, most of the time, have one bank account, a savings account, one retirement account, right? But this is a big misconception, and it's surely a mistake if you don't want to be able to make your money work for you, right? Money moving is money multiplying. Money sitting can become money missing, right? It's not multiplying in value, right? It's just sitting there, and then it can become a point where it depreciates, right? Especially if you're holding your money in a bank, right? So when money is moving, it's multiplying. Money sitting can become money missing, right? Having certain accounts where the rent goes or having certain credit cards only for gas gives you some peace of mind, right? So knowing your finances are organized, it can essentially create an organized life, right? This is just like your room or your closet at home. Have you ever heard someone say your bedroom is a reflection of your mental state? Any of y'all ever heard that, right? Or you are what you live in, right? So when you have a messy room or clothes all over the place, shoes in every corner, dirty dishes in your room, right? That's a reflection on your mental state in your life. This is the same thing when it comes to finances. People who have messy or careless spending habits or spending habits or finances are usually the ones in debt and who are always broke, right? So start thinking about that. Next one is an opportunity fund versus a savings fund. I love this topic, right? A savings account and plan, is essentially going to be for anyone who wants to have a future where, they are financially secure over time, right? And the money is worth more than they put in it when they put it in, right? Money working for you, right? But I want to highlight what an opportunity fund can do for you, right? When you're young, just starting out as a business owner, or you're just trying to plan for the future, right? So an opportunity fund can be just for you, right? An opportunity fund is a fund that's used for future investments, future opportunities, future ventures that you would like to consider, right? Or you would like to give yourself the opportunity to consider. We as entrepreneurs have a mindset like, damn, I could do that right now. Sometimes we're even like, shoot, I could do that right now if I had the funds, right? If I had the money, I would do that right now. If I had X amount of dollars, I would do X to get Y. I would do it right now if I had the means, right? But that's essentially what an opportunity fund can be for, right? So when you have that opportunity fund, it gives you the option to to capitalize on things faster and get rid of that doubt in the guessing game we all put ourselves through when you first start, right? You're always like, damn, should I take that jump? Should I take that jump? Right? you know um so that can create a certain type of stability for yourself, right? And you can always give yourself and that again, put yourself in that entrepreneurial mindset, right? Like you're always able to grow, right? So that definitely can help you when you're just trying to be financially stable, right? You're trying to find some cushion, or you're trying to um you know balance your finances in your business or your finances with your personal life, right? And trying to figure out how you're going to balance that throughout your whole life, right? And to where you can take care of everybody around you, right? So the quote of the week, right? The next, and I want to talk about this just a little bit, right? We're gonna wrap it up real quick, right? A team is built when your employees are inspired by the same vision and connected with the same goal. That's deep. right? A team is built when your employees are inspired by the same vision and connected with the same goal. So when you have a team that is going to push the vision like it's yours, that's essentially how you be in two places at once, right? That's essentially how you can create generational wealth, generational value, right? And create a type of communication system, right? And in value and in turn, right, you can create value, and value equals money, right? So I want you guys to like. I'm gonna wrap it up real quick, right? I don't want to take too much more. I think I went over my little time limit for today. So I want you guys to like, comment, subscribe, right? Tell me how I'm doing. Tell me, if you gain notes off of this. I heard a rich man once say, if you make a presentation and they only have one page of notes, you did not do the presentation right. So if you got at least 2 pages of notes, let me know in the comments, right? Book a call with me today, guys, right? Book a call. You can hop on a call with me right now, 15-minute insight meeting, to where I can give you, some type of insight on, maybe the reasons why, you're not growing in your business, or maybe just give you some type of insight on, how you can, invest in your personal development, right? That's all what we talk about on the podcast, the Wealthy and the Healthy podcast, right? We just want to give you guys, some type of motivation, right? So book a call with me right now. All the information is going to be below, right? So just, just check me out, right? Grab the ebook right now. I'm gonna give you guys 30 businesses with the lowest failure rate that anyone can start right now to create passive income, right? It's $30, right? These are going to give you the resources to start the business, how to start the business, where to start the business, what you're going to need to start the business, right? It's $30, right? Go hop down in the comments, as everything's going to be below. Right. So, like I said, my name is Kay Capri, the mentor, the mentee. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Wealthy and Healthy podcast. I'm gonna be coming back with another episode, I believe, on Tuesday. So yeah, stay tapped in, and tune in with the dog. Yeah. I say tune in with the dog.